Demographics, the people that are in the room this morning are quite diverse. We have some marketing companies, so if I happen to get anything wrong, please don't hesitate to come and tell me afterwards. We have some smaller SMEs, we have some sole traders, and we have some bigger companies. So I've tried to sort of pitch this as a sort of an overview, but if you need any further details, then come and see me. So, who am I? I'm Managing Director of Ice Blue. I'm Marketing Director of an accountancy firm called Price Pearson Limited, and I'm also Marketing Director of a software company called Shield Products. It's part of our whole group, but what Shield Products does is we write and design taxation software, so we've got quite a lot of knowledge in the IT sector. If you'd indulge me for just a moment, I thought what I'd do actually is give you a little bit of my background and what I've done and what I've learned and my experience over the last, how many years, like 1994, goodness. Because I think it is actually quite important and quite relevant as to what we were going to talk about. I started my career in 1994 training as an accountant. I had no ambitions at all to be a marketeer. It wasn't what I was going to do. My father runs the accountancy firm Price Pearson, and I was going to be an accountant. So I studied and got up to AAT level. And then one day we had this brainwave of writing and designing a piece of software for P11D. It was new out in the marketplace. We didn't have a clue what we were doing. My dad said, go and buy a database. So I did. Didn't know who I was buying it from, didn't know what checks I had to make sure the data was up to date. And what we did was we put together this software product. Those days it was floppy disks. So you remember floppy disks? So old there. We stuck the floppy disks onto a piece of card and sent them all out. And actually it was a huge success. Without really realising what we were doing, we'd actually provided a P11D product to the marketplace that had real need for one, because there wasn't many out there at the time. It was the right time, the right place, and had great service and delivery because we had a lot of taxation knowledge. That's sales and marketing. It's really actually quite simple. It's common sense. I then ran the software and the marketing team for the group for several years. I ran all of the customer service. I was on the end of the phones. I found what problems people had, what issues they had, why they wanted to use the software, why they didn't want to use the software. And you build up a lot of knowledge actually while you're doing that, how to deal with people. And we then got quite a few of our clients saying to us, can you help us market our products and services? We've put together our own websites, we've briefed web teams, we've done our own graphic design work, we've run our own sales strategies to sell a product. And so we got to a point where we ended up having to brand out Ice Blue as a marketing agency about 6 years ago because we couldn't be a marketing agency as part of an accountancy firm or a software product. It makes sense. And now we're a family-based business. My sister's creative director, my mum does the debt collecting, my dad shouts at us when we don't get the sales in, and that's really how we've come about it. So we ended up on TaxShield with over 1,000 clients, and we've sold to the likes of Next PLC, Vimto Soft Drinks, right the way down to small sole traders. And really, I think it doesn't really matter, from what I've found, is whether you're a small company or a big company. Actually, sales and marketing is common sense. It's actually how do you talk to people. People buy from people, and it's what is your sales, what are you offering to people, what's your product, and what's your benefit of that product. What I've kind of found is that a lot of small companies as well, and that's us included, we don't really differentiate between a sales team and a marketing team. Actually, we are the sales team. Sales and marketing is the same thing. We have to go out there, we have to attract the leads through marketing, we have to convert the leads, and we have to make those into obviously sales and make sure the sales keep coming in. So what I've tried to do today actually is instead of splitting it just for sales, I've done a complete overview and I've tried to put together a practical and simple process to help you put together a sales plan, roll it out, convert the sales, and monitor what we're doing. So, a brief guide. First of all, what we're going to do talk about this morning. I've put together a bit of an 8-point checklist. All of the slides will be available on the Find It Worcestershire website this morning. So if you want to download this afterwards, you're more than welcome. So just to quickly run through research. You can't do anything without research. You've got to know the marketplace before you can sell into it. Pull up and summarise it into a SWOT analysis. Marketing and sales can be a great big thing. It can be really daunting. You think, oh, I've got to get all these sales in this month, where do I start? If you start to split it down into bite-sized chunks and think and really focus your brain, so what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, what are my opportunities, what are my threats, and how can I act on all of those, it actually becomes less daunting and you'll start to find solutions to some of your issues. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. I will do that in more detail in a second. Focus. Pull together an objective for a year. That might be for a year, it might be for a month, it might be for a week. I'll talk to you about SMART objectives. What are they and how to implement them? Define your markets and your messages. So once you've done all your research and you know what your strengths and your weaknesses are and you've got an objective as to what you want to sell, how do you then talk to your client base? You know who they are because you've done your research. Sales channels. How do you communicate to those markets once you know who they are? How do you record and analyse your leads? Is it really a hot lead? Question your leads. One of the things we did when we first started out with FIIW is we ran around like headless chickens and converted everybody that would listen to us because we really needed the business. But quite often, that actually isn't the best way to go because you can end up losing money and being busy fools. So is it the right kind of lead for you as a business to be profitable? Listen and convert the sale and finally review the process. So that's basically what we're going to go over this morning. So let's get started. Research. Research, research, research. It is really, really important. You have different types of market conditions to start with. We're in a recession. We've been unlucky enough to build our business up in a recession, and it does really make you focus. Businesses and consumers don't have spare cash. Every penny is counted and accounted for. It's therefore harder to convert sales, lead times seem to be often longer, and people are a lot more price sensitive than they're not in a recession. Turn it on its head. If you're looking to go out and buy a product or a service, it might be anything, it might be a holiday. Perhaps a lot of you are looking to book holidays now. You might buy a new PC. What would you do? You don't just go out and buy the first thing that comes to you. You go out and you research. You say, is the best product? Am I getting the best value for money? Do the features of the product suit what I want? You go out and research it. How can you sell a product if you haven't researched your market and you don't know what people are looking for? It's really, really important. Know your market and how you're positioned in that market. It's not rocket science. Knowing your marketing is knowing about sales and knowing about marketing. A lot of people say market research, though, it costs me a fortune. It's not something I have time to do, and I haven't got time to pay anybody. You don't have to spend a huge amount of time. You don't have to spend a huge amount of money. Basically, start with your existing customers and your existing client base. I'm sure you all know this rule. The top 80% of your income comes from the 20% of your client base. It's really important. With our software products, for example, the top 20% of our customers happen to be accountants because we're doing P11Ds and they do P11Ds for their clients. So they're the ones that tend to be a higher net worth of customer. Look at your profitable customers. Are they a certain size? Are they in an industry sector? I've just said our top 20% are mostly accountants. Are they in a specific geographical postcode? Do you have products or services that sell better at certain times of year? Think about seasonal variation. Do the answers to these questions differ for each product or service that you sell? Do certain products cross-sell better than others? And do you sell to company A instead of company B? Analyse who you sell to already, because actually you've got a lot of the answers already there. You might think you know the answers, but an update never hurts, and it always surprises me actually who we're selling to and what we're selling to them. Know your customers really well. I'll use the example here of Tesco, and I'm sure you all know this already. Tesco Club Card. How many people have got a Tesco Club Card? I think I've had about 6, and I've lost them all in the past. Tesco tell you they're giving you discounts to be part of the club, and basically that they're doing something for you. Actually, what you're doing is something for them. You're enabling them to build a profile of all of your buying habits. They know what you're buying, what time of day you go into the store, what time of year you buy things like birthday cakes and things like that, so they can build up a profile of whether you've perhaps got birthdays in your family, whether you buy nappies if you've got children, whether you don't. They know exactly who's buying what, where, and when, and they do it online as well. They're very clever with it. They really know what they're doing, and then they enter it all into a CRM, and then they give you products and services at the right time of year that's really relevant to you. I'll talk more about a CRM, customer relationship management. I'll talk more about that in a second. Perceptions is another thing. When you're doing your research, how do current and potential clients see you? Do they see you the way they think that you do? I'll get a little example here. Those of you that know me know I'm really big into horses. And I do a bit of marketing for my friend Mark, who happens to be a really good dressage trainer. And he's going around at the moment trying to get more people in for lessons. And he goes to one yard down at Worcestershire. And he does 2 people for a dressage lesson. While I was there and I was with him, I found out that actually they get somebody from Kent to come up and teach other people for a whole day. And I said to Mark, why don't you teach them? Why did this guy up from Kent? He said, I don't know. He said, they just never asked me. So I started asking people around the yard. And the reason is that Mark is really good. He's got a really good corporate brand. He's got it on his jackets. He teaches people with beautiful horses that are really good at dressage. And they think that he's too good for them. Either they want to show themselves up by being a happy hacker and not able to ride dressage, so they don't ask him. And he's missing out on a bread and butter market for him through the winter, which is just helping people with their horses. Perception, how do they perceive him? So we've redone his branding and his marketing to try and pitch it more to people with not a specialist knowledge. We only did that really by going around talking to people and doing the research. Also look at your marketing. What's worked in the past? What hasn't worked in the past? What hasn't worked is more important sometimes than what has worked. What about if you've got a new customer or a new product or a new marketplace that you haven't got a customer to be able to profile from? We use methods such as telemarketing, questionnaires, web stats, social media. We've got a client who's got a new product they want to launch. They've always done it on a disk before, and they now want to put it in the cloud as an online piece of software. Before Christmas, I utilised somebody for 2 weeks for telemarketing, and what we did was we telephoned people in certain market sectors that we knew that they already sold into, and spoke to people and got a feedback. Would you be interested in an online product? What are the barriers to them buying it? Security, you think would be one. Well, they've already got a product, they don't really want to move because they might have to input all their data and there's a barrier for sale. The actual answer was, in the 2 weeks worth of research we got, is that there wasn't any barriers. People were really open to buying online and having a product that worked online, and actually was very contrary to what the client thought. So really, really important. About 300 quid that cost me, but actually the knowledge is really important. If I launched a product into a marketplace that wasn't ready, we wouldn't sell. So knowing market, come back to knowing the market. Questionnaires, you can make them very specific into certain products. Web stats and social media. You tend to think of web stats, telemarketing and social media as ways to market your company, but actually it's a great way to research as well. If you go onto Google, you can see how many people are searching for certain products or services. Are the search terms high? There's a lot of people looking for certain products. Social media, sign up to Twitter or Facebook. You don't even have to post anything. But if you go into a certain area, I come back to my horsey scenario again and progress equestrian, a lot of like-minded people together in the horsey community, and you can hear what they're saying. Have you seen these new boots? Have you seen this new event that's coming up? I went and competed my horse here, and it did really, really well, and I have lessons with such and such. You can tell a lot from your marketplace by just listening, just linking into these social media channels and finding out what people are talking about, because then you can act on it. And it isn't becoming a finger in the air job, it's actually based on fact and it works. So, what are your competitors doing? There's another thing. What are they selling? How are they selling it? Are they selling it online, via phone inquiry, a sales force? You might not even like what they're doing, so learn from what they're doing badly as well as what they're doing well, because you can make sure you don't do the bad parts. And also don't reinvent the wheel. If it works for them, it will probably work for you as well. You've got similar products in a similar marketplace. That's research, and I've flown through that really. But once you've got your research and you've got your mind full of all of these things, put it together and summarise it in a SWOT analysis, which is quite simply your strengths of your company, your weaknesses, the opportunities, and your threats. Now you can also do this for your competition. You can take one of your main competitors and do it for them. Because actually, in interrogating what they're doing, it can pull out some things that actually would really help you. So, what kind of strengths? What's the USPs of your product? You might have a really great client base that you can get some testimonials off. You might have a really good, strong, focused sales force. You might have been in the marketplace for 50 years. All of those are strengths to your companies. Weaknesses might be that you don't recognise cross-selling opportunities. You might have a skills shortage within your business. I've seen this quite a few times actually, that people have like a bottleneck. Sometimes they'll have a fantastic sales manager who will do everything but won't delegate, and that can be a real a weakness of the business. You might have long lead times on the product that you sell. Opportunities, change in the marketplace. Talking a lot at the moment with local banks. You can always tell with banks where the marketplaces are going. And at the moment they're backing manufacturing as one of the really up marketplaces. That could be an opportunity for some companies. Manufacturing has been a flat sector for a long time, and now it's back on the up. Can you sell a new product or service? Can you change what you do slightly to fit into an up-and-coming marketplace? You could potentially have a new product that you could sell. That could be an opportunity. And then things like a threat, again, could be a change in the marketplace. It might be that you've always sold into something like construction, and that's on the downturn. So how you safeguard against that? And then you might have a competitor with a new product that's coming on board. That could be a threat to you. I'm not saying you can do something about all of these, but if you're aware of them and it's on your radar, then you can at least start to think about it. And be honest. Identify your assets and your actions and summarise your research. Bring it down to bite-sized chunks. Because from that, you can then set up your objective. Now, again, this is something whereby these will change. You'll probably set these in January or February and they'll be changed by March in the quarter. But have a focus, have a drive, because the more focused you are, the more you channel your energy. You go into your marketplace, or I do, with commitment and enthusiasm and gusto, and it's great. But actually, where am I going to channel that energy? Set your objectives, make them specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-based. And I'll give you an example of that. This was something that I wrote for a telemarketing company based in Worcestershire. They've got lots of different products that they sell, photocopiers and phones and broadband systems. And we worked out through our research that there was about 100,000 businesses in the West Midlands that potentially they could go out to and sell to. So we said we aim to raise the profile of Company A and its products and services by 25% of the 100,000 businesses in the West Midlands area. That's specific. We've said specifically what we're going to do. It's achievable. We're going to do a conversion rate of 2% of those businesses for lead generation. So we only want 2% of them that we can get a lead from, and of those 2%, we want to convert 10% by April 2012. It's specific, it's measurable, realistic, and it's time-based, because we've said we're going to do it by April. And then underneath, what we've done is split it down again into quarters. So April to June, our 10% awareness is 10,000 businesses. Now we can reach 10,000 businesses potentially by doing an advert or an editorial in the Business Post magazine, by putting something up on the web, sending out an email campaign and doing a viral marketing strategy with something like Facebook or Twitter. So actually 10,000 businesses is beyond us to get hold of. We want to convert 2% of those, which will give us 200 leads, and 10% of that means 20 new customers in the first quarter. Now this also means we can measure it, because actually at the end of June, if we haven't got 20 new customers, we say why. Why haven't we? What's not working? Go back to your sales plan and redevelop it. As I say, these SMART objectives will keep changing, but they will give you a focus. They'll give you something to work against and something to measure against. And that's how we run our sales teams, actually. I don't go in every morning and say, what have you sold? We have a meeting at the end of each month and say, are we at target? Are we up? Are we down? What have we got to do to change it? And we can be reactive and dynamic.